didn't realize it.
Let me see if I can pull up the side chat. So
we are on air right now.
Okay.
So welcome everyone to the after show. You just missed Hitler. He's gone.
Hitler is gone.
Hitler is gone back to the other channel that doesn't have any content because Artie couldn't get rid of his orange spray tan in time.
Orange.
You look more like Trump than Trump does.
I look like the inside of a blood orange grapefruit.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you got the lighting fixed. It seems to be working, so maybe we can finally do a show together. So back, everybody wanted to ask questions, so I'm going to just sit back and relax. Who's going first?
I'll let you guys go first.
Mel.
I was late.
Mel, you were the first one to say I want in.
Oh no, I said I wanted in a long time before you got here.
Okay. Russ, you got the floor.
Well, so who was it that was speaking? Who is it that was speaking today? Oh, and I don't know who the fuck that is, but
it was Sean.
Sean. There we go, Sean.
The other one Sean, that doesn't look like him is Jeff.
Oh yeah, he looks nothing.
That's right.
They look nothing like.
Yeah, the fact that you guys look nothing alike is startling.
Yes. But so Sean, you said that you had looked into every religion before deciding to go back to Christianity.
I wasn't in Christianity in the first place, buddy. What I did was I looked into as many conceivable religions as I could discover. I know there's many religions that are on the earth that are in deep parts of the jungle that I can't get to, but major religions that I could talk to.
Okay, so have you read the Poetic Eddas?
Some.
And so you know where they're from, right?
Actually, I don't. It's been years. What I mainly studied was Hindu, Buddhism, Muslim, Judaism, Christianity, and a couple of other small sects that are out there. Even the Krishnas. So, Hare Krishna. I tried it all, man. He was going on a quest to disprove it all. Yeah, really what it was. He wasn't like trying to find the truth. I don't believe. I believe he was just trying to.
What made Mormonism easily disregardable that doesn't exist in Christianity?
Yeah, that's simple, man. First of all, Joseph Smith. I went to the roots. Joseph Smith was someone that was a charlatan who was going to people's doors and knocking on their doors and telling them that if they let him, or he could go on into their backyard with a dowsing rod and actually find gold. And he was arrested as a charlatan. He looked in crystal balls. He was a charlatan, and then on top of that, there are things that he said that have completely contradicted Bible. Like he said at the King Fallout Discourse that we suppose that God was God from eternity. I will refute that idea and take away the veil so that you may see, which basically says that God isn't eternal, that he was born on some other planet, and that he himself died and became a god, and then he had spirit babies. That kind of God. And then the God that I saw in the Bible, in the book of Psalms 90 verse 2, said that God was everlasting to everlasting, that he was eternal, that there was no end to God, and that he had always been and always would be. So when I saw that it completely contradicted the Bible of Mormonism, or the God of Mormonism contradicted the God of Judaism and Christianity, I said, well, even Allah. It contradicts Allah, the idea of Allah, because that was to us when we were looking into Muslims. That was more interesting because it was a God that was outside of space and time as well, that created all things.
The God of Abraham.
We looked.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of God. There's the God of Abraham. In fact, Allah. People think that That's the name of God. That's just God. Allah is God.
Yeah,
it is
just like God.
Exactly. Right. It's not different. And what I found when I was looking into Mormonism, I saw that contradicting itself. When so I said, well, that right there is a fallacy that I can't say it doesn't line up with Christianity, and that was just one of many.
Okay.
And then I looked into.
Wait, hang on, just a second. I think you're misunderstanding my question. I was asking for not specific stories within one version of religion versus the other, but what about Mormonism exists that doesn't exist in Christianity? You went off. You made some comparisons about things that differ from Mormonism, and that they just Joseph Smith described Christianity as being this, and you kind of went to I'm going to defend that, but at the time, what was the distinction? What was there in Christianity that didn't exist in Mormonism, or what in Mormonism didn't exist in Christianity? Not the stories, but the basic tenets, down to why you would believe this over that. Okay, in Mormonism, when I always went to the root of a belief system, and I saw where if there was something that they say that their standard of truth is not just the Book of Mormon, but they also say it's the Bible. So if you do a comparative between the God of the Bible that they said that they believe in and the God that's in Mormonism, they're not the two same gods. The God of the Bible is spirit. The God of Mormonism is in a physical body that's sitting on a throne somewhere. The God that is of the Bible. We're not talking about Jesus either. We're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about Yahweh. Right. So sitting at the right hand of God would be something that would be impossible in Christianity. Well, no. That's a different story when we're talking about Yeshua. But Yahweh, I'm talking about when we first started out looking for this, it wasn't about Jesus. Listen, it wasn't about Jesus.
So Yahweh doesn't have a throne.
It just sounds like special pleading.
Yeah, because it sounds like you're saying that Yahweh doesn't have a throne. So Yahweh doesn't have a throne.
He's not in a physical body in space and time.
But he has some kind of physical body that has a throne.
Okay, God of Mormonism is in a physical body.
Special pleading.
How is it special pleading? Let me ask you a question.
How can something both exist and be outside of time?
Wait, my friend. Wait. Now you have to remember this. Keep this in mind. What I'm arguing and saying to you, this is not coming from a Christian perspective. The point of view I'm giving you was when I was an atheist. I'm not giving you the point of view I had when I was a Christian. So when I tell you what I found, you call it special pleading. When I tell you what I found the differences between the religions and where their foundation was shaky, which compared up to one to another.
You found no reason.
Back then, I laughed and mocked the idea of God. I didn't say that God was, he's God. I laughed and I said, there's no such thing as God. And so I went in to disprove it. When I saw Mormonism, I went in to disprove it. And I did. When I went to try and go in to disprove Judaism and Christianity, I had my hardest time doing it. It wasn't the same as when I was doing the other religions. The reason why I'm giving you the idea I'm giving you about Mormonism, which you asked, is about what I thought as an atheist, not as a Christian.
But the thing,
so when you call it special pleading, you're telling atheists.
You're an atheist, had a Christian bias.
No, I actually had no Christian bias because I didn't believe in Jesus.
You decided Christianity was true while you were an atheist based upon what you just said.
I didn't then. That is not when I found it. When I decided on Christianity was much later. I decided on Christianity far long after I looked into Mormonism. Far long after.
But you many years. Mormonism, you used Christianity as the thing to decide that Mormonism couldn't be true. That's a pretty clear. It's a pretty clear bias
check it out.
towards a religion you said you didn't believe.
Okay, what's your name, brother?
Artemis.
What's your name?
Artemis.
Artemis. Okay, I like Artemis. Right. I like talking to people face to face as friends. Artemis, when I tell you that I was looking into Mormonism the way I did, why would I compare it to Christianity in the first place? Why? Think about this. Logically, why would I do that? The reason why I would compare it is because I would do it.
I don't know why you did it.
Okay, they said they were Christian. So I compared it to a religion that had been around much, much longer. So I decided to see, well, how does it stack? They say that they're Christians. They say they believe in Jesus. Where is it that they differ? If they differ, then they can't actually be Christian.
That's then I have a question here. Then I have a question here because you just said that you didn't come to the whole entire Christianity aspect until way after you had looked into Mormonism. Well, if you went and compared Christianity and Mormonism together, then how is it that you didn't come to Christianity before then? It's like that to me doesn't make sense.
Let me ask you a question. As when I was doing physics, what I did is I did comparative analysis. What I would do is I would take one variable and compare it against another variable. I'd always do test against each variable.
Okay, so then, let me hold on. Then maybe I'm not getting it clear. What I'm trying to say is that why is it that whenever you did this comparative analysis was complete to you, it was complete and utter bullshit, and then later on you said, oh well, now that I'm looking at this is now completely and utterly correct. Why would it be bullshit then, but not bullshit then?
Christianity, correct?
You said
Christianity.
That anything, I think.
You said that whenever you were comparing Christianity with Mormonism back then, when you were looking into Christianity to be able to compare it, that pretty much you thought that it was bullshit then. But then as you go on later on in life to go and evaluate Christianity, all of a sudden it's the one true answer. Well, how is it that back then it was bullshit, but then it was not?
Sure. And what's your name, brother?
You can call me Russ.
Russ? Okay.
I don't go by my
the only reason. That's fine. Okay. The reason why I call you Russ is because I always want to establish a friendship with somebody. I don't want to just necessarily say hey you. It's because I'm talking to another human being. And it's someone that I actually, if I'm going to explain myself or I'm going to talk to and I want their point of view, I want to know them. When it comes to what I discovered as a Christian when I came to Christianity, it was really simple, man. I was from your perspective. I actually thought to myself, there is no such thing as God. Now, when I talked to my atheist friends, they would get mad when they would talk about God. And my statement used to always be, why are you getting upset or angry about something that doesn't exist? So there is no reason for anybody in this entire discussion to have any animosity, because I really do want to give you a genuine answer, which is this. When I dug into Christianity and I was searching for a truth, I could not necessarily sit there and dismiss just everything out of hand when I went into it. I went into it trying to prove or disprove. Honestly, I wanted to go in there with a genuine openness to see, is it real or is it not real? And when I knocked on the door of the idea of God and I genuinely wanted to know, that is when I had the experience I described when I was speaking with Peter. It took years. If I wanted to give you the entire story, it's a long story, what brought me to that conclusion. But logically, I can't tell you any of you this. And you need to hear this as somebody that was an atheist. I can't tell any of you this. I can't say, hey, guess what, guys? For a fact, God doesn't exist. That's right. Or he does exist. I can't tell you. When I was an atheist, I would say, for a while, I said, I knew that for a fact that God didn't exist. But then I came to the point where more logically, I said, I can't say whether he does or whether he doesn't. What I experienced was something outside myself, which changed me inwardly. That's the only difference. When I looked into the other religions and I tried to walk the walk and what they did and learn what they had to teach, I had no change that came. I remained the same exact person that I always was, and nothing was different in my life. When I came to the conclusion in Christianity and had the experience of knowing God, that is when I changed inwardly. Now there are two natures inside of myself. One that was I don't care, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and it's just my unguided processes that bring up the biology in me to do what I do. And then there's the side of me that says, hey, don't do that. That's another human being that can hurt that person. I'd like to add something, if I could. One little small thing to really give you a kind of an idea of what we're saying. Okay, I agree with evolution. I agree with so many different things that in science, because I can't deny scientific fact or theories. And coming to the conclusion of God is kind of like this. People will always say, it's the God of the gaps. It's the God of the gaps. What you're doing is you're creating something that did cause this to happen and did cause evolution and micro evolution and macro evolution and for life to form and all the way back and the universe to come into existence. However, as we look back all the way to the beginning, we have to take the idea of God, put it out of the way, dismiss it, and just look at the science, which I agree with. The situation that happened is a perspective shift. That's all it is. It really is the way you look at things. It's not a lack of rational thinking or logical using any kind of universal invariant laws of logic. I still use the same kind of logic, but I do not skeptically now because of these experiences and because of what I've seen and the way I see things now. I can't logically just dismiss them. I have to dig into them and dig into them and dig into them. So like when I researched the Bible, I had to research the Hebrew and the Greek. I had to research the way it was put together. I had to research. And even if I hadn't done any of that, the text spoke differently to me now. And it wasn't, oh, I just am a believer and I raise my hands and that's what it is. It's a change. I don't know how that happens, but that's exactly what the Bible calls it. The Bible says repentance, which is just metanoia, change of mind. My mind changed. The way I saw things was different. I saw things exactly the same way every one of you guys do. In fact, in most things, I probably still would. It's just when it comes to God.
It's
just when it comes to God and existence. We would disagree.
Let me jump in real quick. What I have trouble with is, and I spoke to you guys after the last show. I can't wrap my head around it that you need something external to be the way you both are now, the way we talked last time. When I heard Sean say earlier that he was so different and that he was basically a person no one would like, I don't think that is something external. I think that comes from within, because if it's something external, you're going to go back in time. I'm pretty convinced of that. And you will I don't know.
Was that a question?
Well, I mean, I can go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. I can't wrap my head around that because I've never been religious in my entire life. I've always been an atheist. So for me to listen to people and say, hey, there was something from outside and that made me change my entire identity, because that's what it is. You got a completely new identity that responds differently, that looks at things differently. I can't see that. I can't see that happening. I couldn't see that happening to me because I would go back to the way I was.
Right. Well, it's interesting, even the entire conversation that all of us would be having, we all have different perspectives on things. Now, there are some things that are testable, viable, and provable, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And those things we can all agree on, or we should be able to all agree on. Something that is not testable and verifiable by the scientific method is not something that we can both all say, yes, this is 100% true. But I've found it interesting when I've spoken to my friends that are atheists today, or people that are just agnostic, they don't care. When I've spoken to them about the evidences for the Bible or the evidences for God and for this type of thinking, they can't see it just like you don't. And that's understandable. I completely understand. I mean, it's going to be hard to come to an agreement and a consensus that something is real. Like, I'm not going to do what I know some of my other friends do, which is tell you, hey, look, God is real. You know it. And that's just the way it is. That's just wrong. I think it's totally wrong. I do too. Some people don't care and don't think. There was a time where I didn't even care. So what does it matter? So why would I tell you, hey, you know God exists and that's just the way it is? Do I believe that? Do I believe it? Yeah. Do I believe that everybody, not that you know God is real and there he is. It's that we all have an internal thing. That's my belief. Am I going to tell you that's what you believe? That is so wrong for me to do. Yeah, exactly. On so many different levels, for me to tell you what you believe and what you think and what you know. You'll come to conclusions and say, no, that's just not true. So it's not a belief that we're talking about here necessarily. Go ahead. Anybody have anything to say?
What evidence of the Bible is it that you go on with these people, with these friends of yours?
Oh, evidence for the Bible?
Yeah.
So the way that it was put together, I mean, if we were to just talk about the New Testament and not speak of the Old Testament, I mean, it's however you want to look at it. When you go back through history, and let's just look at the New Testament, we have 5,700 documents that are all copies of the New Testament, different parts of the New Testament. But if we had a puzzle piece with 999 pieces and we were trying to fill in a gap, then we wouldn't have a hole, and I would throw the entire Bible out. That's my opinion. Are you
referring to the manuscripts?
A manuscript, Masoretic text, Vulgate, Latin Vulgate, copies upon copies upon copies throughout history. Okay. When we look at them all together, go ahead.
Well, the thing is what you're admitting here is that some of these that count as manuscripts are literally segments that are about that big with like maybe 2 words on there. That's supposed to corroborate an entire book. And there's a lot of those fragments. And then not only that, but then you have that what's classified as a manuscript is anything that was written by hand all the way up into the 1600s.
Right.
And that's also included into this whole entire manuscripts, which is literally copies upon copies upon copies that you were trying to say is completely accurate, even though when you do that type of thing, and everywhere else, you always get mistranslations and wrong things. But for some reason, this compilation is correct because of reasons.
So as an atheist, let me say this. There is an argument for the validity of the text of the Bible, not necessarily from a historical standpoint, but from a consensus across the board as far as your agnostic and atheist people that actually look into this. What I would say is this. There's an agreement across the board, and I even read Bart Ehrman all the time when I was an atheist. And he, even himself, verifies the validity of it in his book about how the texts themselves stack up against one another. We're not talking about a historical Jesus or history in itself, but the fact that the same copy given, passed down, and then another copy is a verification closer to the original than any other manuscript we have out there. And it doesn't matter. I think that's an interesting point to make. The fact that you're talking about a series of documents that are the most textually verified documents in world history, and you have a problem with that. Think about that for a second.
Wait,
the most textually verified documents in world history. You go. Nope, that's not true. It's not as verified and as accurate as you say it is. I'm not saying that we have perfection. Like the Quran tries to proclaim. They try to proclaim that there hasn't been one mistake. Well, we can't go back to 642 AD and find any documents all the way through history. It's what they memorized. We have documents going back to the first 50 and 60 years, right after Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead, and all these things.
Sounds like the same complaint I had with how you eliminated Mormonism.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we're just talking about the validity of the documents. That's all I'm saying. I'm talking about you can argue that it's not the most textually verified document in world history is stupid.
Exactly
really
my point. Exactly my point.
You know, I'm not saying what's in the documents are real. That's not what my point is.
There is no difference between the claims made by Mormons and the claims made by Christians, except for age, which you both have mentioned, by the way, for something that doesn't. Based on the look, I assume you mean that that's not what you think, but you both have mentioned it. And I really wanted to interject with a thing that was said a long time ago. But Sean, I think it was you that had said that you didn't understand why the atheists that you hung out with while you were an atheist seemed to act as though they were mad at God. Is that a fair representation of what you said?
To a point, yes. Right.
Is that a fair thing to say that's you know?
Yes, I'll speak to that completely.
Okay. Did you guys grow up? You said you grew up in a Christian household. Your parents were loving. I'm perfectly happy to accept that that's true, and I'm grateful that there's at least two more of us that grew up in happy homes. But you grew up in a Christian home. At what point did you leave the faith? At what point did you decide that you didn't believe what you were being taught from the church that you were going to as kids?
Age 12. 12?
And you weren't angry about what you thought you were being taught that was lies when you were 12 when you left the church?
No, not one bit.
And you don't understand why anybody who maybe went to church longer than you did might feel angry about the lies that they were led to believe their whole lives?
They could be angry.
And did you come across anybody that was like that?
They can be angry at the. Yes, I got plenty of friends that are like that. They can be angry at the church. My argument with an atheist that, well, actually a discussion with my friends when I was an atheist that they would get mad is I would tell them that I'd say you're actually just angry with how you were taught. Not God. Not God. There's no such thing as God.
So you don't think you were continually misrepresenting what they were saying and feeling. You had to continually tell them what they were actually feeling.
Oh man, no. My friends, the reason they asked me this.
I'm just curious because I have never in my life come across someone who left the church that wasn't angry about it. And
yeah, I know.
By the same token, I don't know an atheist who's ever once bitched about God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know
how you can be an atheist and have complaints about God. I don't know
if you're angry about the idea is what I'm saying. I'm just talking about the idea of God. If the idea of God makes you mad, why? But I can understand the church, Jesus, the Bible, all those things. If you got mad about that because you were taught something,
all the atheists you guys knew were mad at God.
Yeah, not all. He's known some that got mad. He asked them why they got mad for. Why? Yeah. If God's not real, why are you mad? That's what he said.
So that was just hyperbolic language when you said that all the atheists that you.
It's just all
right. No, I'm just trying to clear up the hyperbole. I want to make sure that I don't want to assume. I don't want to assume anything.
No, Artemis, man, it's cool, dude. I
am more troubled by the fact that you guys have received the exact same amount of sunlight than I am anything you have to say about what you believe.
It's a light, man. It's a light. We have this
in the light. He looks lighter than you. And when you were doing the mirror thing, you were the exact same fucking color. It's creepy.
Bullshit, man. Bullshit. It's better. Better, right? Yeah, okay.
It's CGI.
Yes.
Told you.
Okay. Jeff's a little darker, but let's not get carried away.
Okay. But okay. I have a question. Why did you leave? What made you into an atheist? What convinced you at that point that you were no longer convinced?
To become an atheist? It's easy. That and this is the honest truth. Just when I was young, what made me change my mind was that the people that I saw were liars, and the people that were telling me about God and Jesus were turning right around and doing something totally different. So their actions didn't back up what they said. My own cousin that I went to the church with when I was younger was the head pastor of a big church, and I knew them personally. So when they got up there and they talked, I remember just sitting there going, what? And then I can also say that something horrific happened to me by an assistant pastor that changed my mind utterly and made me say F God. That's me being really personal with you guys.
But wouldn't it then, Jeff, wouldn't it then be honest to say that you weren't convinced that God wasn't real? You were convinced that the religion you were in was a fake.
No.
Okay, before we continue,
when you're young,
because that's different.
When I was young, I threw it all out.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick that I gotta get going. I gotta get some stuff done before my wife gets home. So I will talk to you. Look. You see, I'm a man who knows how his wife is, and if I don't get some things done around here, then
by all means,
I'm gonna have shit thrown at me.
Go fold the dishes and wash the laundry. You got shit.
Russ, I'm going to be mean. How long are you married?
I've been married for come October, it'll be a year.
As long as it takes.
And in my neck of the woods, the follow-up question would be, and how long do you have to be?
Yeah, even the Catholic Church would allow an annulment at this point.
Yeah. Well, it was good seeing you again, Russ.
Awesome to see you again, Russ.
We still need to do our Glenn Coker one.
Yeah,
again.
we need. I need to get back to Glenn and have Glenn back on, because that's also going to be another fun conversation.
Russ, Russ, it's a rare treat to see you with an actual roof over your head. I don't want you to feel like I missed that.
Yes, we all thought you lived in a car.
No.
Thought that.
Yes, I have a house. I've always had a house. I just was always at work normally. But this is a rare.
You weren't allowed in. You weren't allowed in until you got married, right?
Yeah, exactly. Your wife wouldn't let you be in it.
But for those who don't know, the other guy that he's talking about, that we're talking about, Glenn Coker, is a guy who lives now, since I've moved to a different location, a little bit closer than I do. But we're both here in roughly the Houston-ish area of Texas. So it was very cool to have a conversation with him.
And we still need that conversation where you guys go and visit one visits the other, and do a live stream then.
And Russ is the security administrator at an open pit mine there in the Houston area.
Shut up, Artie. Come Love you, you old some bitch.
Yeah, love you more.
All right, bye, guys.
Behave yourself. Say nice things about me when I'm dead.
Good seeing you. Bye.
Good talking to you all too. All right, bye.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He's a good egg, that kid.
All right.
Oh,
Sounds
boy.
like a good guy.
He is. He's quite a sweet, really sweet guy.
Yeah, he's also one that I don't think that I've ever seen mad in a conversation.
Yeah. Even on Twitter, what seems like he might be mad is just him going, "Hey."
Yeah. That's correct. So Mel, we haven't heard a lot from you.
I know. I've just been absorbing. I've just been listening to. I'm scientists mostly observe, and then they observe, and then they develop questions.
Earlier in the chat, someone said you have to do this quick because then otherwise Mel is too drunk to do this. And I responded.
This is still the first whiskey. I haven't done much. Yeah, this is nice 1792.
I responded and I said, if Mel is drunk, she's a better scientist than she is when she's sober. Because I have witnessed that.
The right goggles.
That's what the police tell me about my driving.
Oh my gosh. I have, as an aside on that, my brother from another mother, when Rock Band came out, he was visiting from out of town, and he had never played it before. And I'm like, okay, so I do like drums and vocals at the same time, and I'll Phil Collins the crap out of that. So I'm sitting there doing drums and vocals, and he's learning how to do like the guitar, and he goes, here, let's drink up. I'm like, okay. And so we start drinking through the night. I get better the more drunk I get. Drums, and I sing on expert. And so he's just like, how are you doing better?
There are some skills that are better when you're drunk. I can speak from experience that there are some skills, especially on a golf course, that you might be a little better at if you're smoking, for instance. Some skills you're better at when you're drinking. If you play your game just right and you're only playing 9 holes, you can probably shoot under par at least half the time, even if you don't play.
I can't remember how many times I was at concerts or doing music, and I was high or drunk or got drunk over a period of time. One of the habits that turned into that was I took a shot, play my first song, take another shot. Boy, I sounded better all of a sudden, and then another shot. And by the time, 4 hours of a concert's gone by, I'm messed up, So a lot of things I don't remember. I don't remember some of the things that happened after parties. I know people told me about experiences like sometime I went on a tour through Tennessee one time, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and some other places. And I was playing with a really famous blues guy. I can't even remember his name. He played with B.B. King. Stacy Mitchar.
Don't mention Jeff. Don't mention Blues Traveler. Someone's going to freak out.
Yeah, John played blues. John was playing with the Blues Traveler.
I got to do a concert with Johnny Popper once. So
yeah.
But
I'll tell you about my Dave Matthews John Popper story when we're done.
Yeah.
Wow, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I play with Dave Matthews too, man.
Oh, you should ask about John Popper. You and I might have the same fucking story tonight.
Oh, dude! What's up?
Yeah, but I know how Mel feels.
If you heard any stories from him about John Popper, did it involve Big Macs? Because that's my story.
Yeah, I know how she feels when she feels like she's good. She's doing a better job on the music. I understand, completely understand. I've got high, drunk. I don't know how many times, and I've recorded albums drunk and high. And I remember going through sober because you can hear it clear. So I go back like the next day sober and go, holy shit, how did that happen? How did I get this just right? I was in the zone,
I tend to be far more articulate when I've had quite a few. I do. I tend to be far more articulate, and I
turn into an Irish poet.
No, I don't do that. But I sit there and I'll have a good logical sequence of thoughts, It's strange.
You know?
Yes.
And everyone else shuts up because they can't believe what's happening.
She makes so much sense that she's had 4 whiskeys.
Yep.
How is that?
Oh my goodness.
Oh Lord,
Wow.
yeah. I think it's because I try even harder to be like super focused in the zone. So there's like no distractions. There's, usually I have like a very busy brain. So if I've had something to drink, I can zone in on a topic and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just pick this apart, and then I can just go through it like that. If I don't have all the other distractions that are going on, then I'm honing in on one. It's like horse blinders with the alcohol, I think. Just like focusing on the thing. I'm going to talk about this thing right here. And it's just go.
You're going to have good questions. Good questions.
Usually, so I don't know. Well, let's see. You guys were talking about the scientific method earlier, about hypotheses and that sort of thing, what you do in order to generate a theory, and that sort of thing. So I thought I would weigh in a bit on that, on how that works. I was mostly trying to see what your knowledge was with that, because you didn't last very long on that topic. And then I thought I would kind of go in, and having done that myself, I can throw in my 2 cents, as it were. So what were you, what did you mean about that, about hypotheses and theories? What were you trying to get at?
Well, it depends on if you're talking about the religion aspect.
Sure. The scientific method is the scientific method. So.
Right. I did it to find any variable which maybe cancel out another variable within that religion. So if I went into a religion and I was looking into it, one variable that I found consistently across the board was that every religion that I came across said that it was all about what you could do, about how much you could fix the situation, about how you could be a better person if you just tried hard enough. And I found that in the original Christianity at its base, that it differed from the other religions. It wasn't about you, and it wasn't about what you could do. It was about what Jesus did for you and me. That's what I came to a conclusion. I mean, I'm trying to simplify it, but I came to a realization that he himself would change me if I actually wanted to be changed. Now, see, for years I didn't care. I didn't. And
okay.
I'd say like,
well, let
me
go into,
what?
Because I want to talk a bit about what you meant when you were trying to do variables and stuff. So you're essentially doing what we would call a comparative study. You're looking at the different aspects when it came to particular religions to see what was similar and what was different. But that's going on the basis that all of those things were, number one, were true. That's making the assumption that they're all true. That's making the assumption that everything listed was correct without any fallacies. And that's also making the assumption that there are no other possibilities outside of those truths.
Right. Anything that I could see. I would use basically the presuppositions I came in with were like classificatory, methodological, and axiological presuppositions in the science that I was doing. I would look at the distinctions, space and time, cause and effect of the observer and the observed, real and apparent, and basically if it was orderly or chaotic in that religion itself. I would also look for. Go ahead.
Okay, so, well, the points that I want to make is you can take just about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be fiction or nonfiction, and do the same study to find parallels, for instance, between Shakespeare's works and supposedly the man who wrote for him. You could do the same thing with any particular type of text, and if it's fiction or nonfiction. So
right.
even though you're instituting the scientific method, you have to keep in mind when you're coming to a decision on this is the truth and this is the not the truth, that comparative study is not going to give you that answer. It's just going to show you
the
similarities
exactly.
are.
The law of logic. Right. The law of logic. X is X, or X is not X, or X is either X or not X.
So I'm curious,
what I did was,
what made you decide that the information you were given was nonfiction and 100% fact, as opposed to something that was fictional? Even though the comparisons are there, and I understand why you decided to go with that as far as the similarities between them, but what makes you decide that that information is 100% factual?
Exactly. I came to a point where, because we're talking about God here, I mean, an unproven,
Not just that, you're talking about Jesus and all kinds of miracles, and then you have the whole Old Testament to contend with, and the different types of evidence, whether or not those things were a thing, and were there other explanations for those particular natural occurrences, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. How do you decide that that's fact and not something that was an explanation for something that couldn't be explained at the time?
And see, that's the thing.
That is the thing.
That's the thing. Is when it comes to whether X is X or not X, and what Jesus, who he was and what he did, and the verifiability of the New Testament, whether he actually did rise from the dead. And I came to this conclusion after studying the text. Now, we could do a long talk about, the verification of the New Testament and its classifications, but that would take a long time. But what I will say, what I did come to a conclusion in, was that Jesus was one of two things. He was either who he said he was, or he was nuts.
He didn't say that he was the Son of God. Other people said that he was. And he said, "You say that I am." He never actually confirms that he's God's child. He says, I've come here for my Father. Everybody else put that on him.
And when he said, right, but see, here's the thing is, if what is written in the book of John is true, and the variable where Jesus said in the Hebrew, and you can read it in the Greek as well, is when he said, before Abraham was. And now he was making a personal reference to himself. He said, ego I me, which is I am. He was talking about himself. When you said that as a Jew, you were referencing the I am, God himself. When he said, ego I me, they picked up stones to throw at him. Now, if he was just referencing God and Abraham, they wouldn't have tried to kill him. But because he said that he was I am, and also he himself said when he was at the trial with in front of the Sanhedrin, they asked him if he was the Christ or the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And he said, ego I me, which is I am that I am that I am, which is I am the Almighty. And he said, and you will see the Son of Man, talking about himself, coming on the clouds of glory and sitting at the right hand of power. When he made that reference, he was putting himself with equality with God, and that really, really makes a Jew mad. Trust me, I've got plenty of Jewish friends, and that makes a Jew mad.
I understand, but there's also something to be said about interpretation, particularly when you get towards the end of the New Testament and you look at all of Revelations and who was Caesar at the time and the numbers associated with the Caesar at the time, and the power and that sort of thing was all related to the current government. There's a lot of evidence to show that that interpretation of all of those prophecies are related to the Caesar at the time. So, I mean, when you look at, well, can I finish?
No, I already think we are. Sure.
Okay. So
sorry.
It's okay. So when you're talking about all of these different, even for the different books of the gospel where it's talking about Jesus, and for the record, I have studied at length, actually went to state for Bible quizzing like 4 years in a row for my church. I've read the Nag Hammadi, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Mystic Books of Moses, the Bhagavad Gita. I have looked at the Quran as well. I've even studied Santeria, Voodoo, and Hoodoo. So I'm well versed on quite a bit on religion. So with that said, when you're looking at the stories from the perspective of those apostles who wrote down their own personal perspective, that's still just a perspective, which is very easily can be misconstrued, manipulated, and that sort of thing. When you get to the summit about what particular texts were allowed, for instance, in the Catholic Bible, they all had to sit around and look and decide what was the truth and what wasn't the truth, so they could organize. So that's a thing that happened. So people that were not there were making decisions as well, that weren't there with Christ were making decisions as well. So all I'm saying is, from a factual type of basis, do we know if it's fact or not? We have a lot of different perspectives coming in. I have no reason to disagree with you that about Jesus being around. I just question individual perceptions and perspectives where you just have these few books. These are the only books we're going to use. We're going to throw out all of those. Have you read the Gospel according to Mary Magdalene?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so the yes. So there's that, and there's the Apocryphon of Peter, as well as Paul. The Gospel according to Mary Magdalene, and then you have the Gospel of Thomas. Which that's a heck of a read. When you go through that, it reads like an oral story. It's just like a continuous row of thought, and it's a hefty read. So if you get halfway through and you lose your train of thought, you got to go all the way back to the beginning and read through it. Now with the Gospel according to Mary Magdalene, she got some crazy stuff coming from Jesus about there being different bodyguards, to say, for each level of heaven. There were passwords you have to speak in order to get through these particular gates. These are things that she said Christ said to her, and he wanted her to keep it with her and not share that information. And so that was conveniently left out of the Bible. So when she comes out and all of the apostles are like, well, what did she say to you? What did he say to you? She's like, well, I can't really tell you. And then they basically, brush her off, say, well, you're just a woman. It probably wasn't important. So these perspectives that we have are extremely biased. They leave out a lot of other narratives that all suit individual perspectives. That's what I'm trying to get across. We don't know 100% because a lot of stuff was left out. A lot of decisions were made with people who weren't involved. They weren't involved in the actual original 12 or Mary or any of these. They just decided these were the ones we're going to go with. So I always find it a bit suspect when we try to go so heavily with this is what the Bible says, when so many questions are brought up because of just the perspectives alone, and so many others were left out because they felt that they weren't important. Mary Magdalene talked to Jesus, and he gave her passwords to heaven. Why wouldn't you want that in the Bible? And why was she immediately dismissed? Because those dudes were biased AF. So it's just kind of like, you got to kind of keep that in mind.
If she was dismissed, that's where I disagree. It's the Catholic Church, which is apostate to me, has.
But they're the ones who started it all. They're the original, original Christians.
The Catholic Church has proven. The Catholic Church has proven its anti-Semitism, which you got Jewish blood flowing through these veins. Anti-Semitism, and it's proven that it is biased.
Just like every other religion, they changed the Bible too as they went down. Mary Magdalene actually wasn't a prostitute. That came in, I believe, around 600 AD. They changed the
That's a lie. That's a lie. I don't think she was.
She was. So did King James. He threw in this bit about tithing. You have all of these revisions that have happened in the course of religions. Why wouldn't they have been revised at that summit as well? So, that's my point.
As a scientist,
mm-hmm.
and as a scientist that you are, and me with my minor in physics, me with a minor in physics, we can talk logically here for a second. We always go to the root of any problem within a variable or any variance within a hypothesis. So if we go to the root, what is the main claim about, what is the biggest claim that Christianity makes about Jesus outside of the fact that he was the Son of God? What do they say happened to him after he died? They say that he rose from the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're talking Jewish men that lived back then, and you were a second-class citizen if you were a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that Testament verifications, why is it the New Testament verifications are given by Mary Magdalene and other women? Why is it that the women are the ones that say that Jesus rose? Why are the men referring to the women's word as second-class citizens? And
I'll tell you why.
Show how they were.
I'll tell you why.
Huh?
The reason why they referred it to the women is because the women would probably be more likely to be executed and not themselves. So in the event that they were caught in a lie, the women would be more likely to be executed because they were second-class citizens for causing kinds of trouble.
Okay.
So blame it on the women is way easier than taking responsibility for yourself.
And you have to keep in mind that the women had a task. The women had a task to go back in the tomb.
Yes, and retrieve the body.
So they were obviously the ones to discover it. And there's one other thing. Let's not get it right, Sean. There's another thing that you left out when you just said, well, let's go back to the roots. I want to go back to the root of this part of the conversation, because you said either Jesus was who he said he was, or he was nuts, and those are not the only two options. Jesus was who he said he was, or he was nuts, or he was wrong, or he was wrong,
or he was a liar.
Yeah,
that's what I said. He was a liar.
Yeah, but
let me ask you a question.
No, he could have been wrong, and that's the part where I would think he was just wrong.
Then that means that he was crazy. If he was wrong, then he was crazy.
You don't have to be crazy to be wrong.
No.
You don't have to be crazy to be wrong.
Well, why would, then he's delusional?
Wait,
no.
Then he's delusional.
Why couldn't he have been a revolutionary wanting to shift societal? Why couldn't he have been a revolutionary wanting to shift societal issues to where you incorporate your sick, where you incorporate your poor, where you take care of all these people? Table flipping Jesus in the church, man. He was all about changing the societal norms to embrace a path of acceptance. So why couldn't he just been one of those type of revolutionaries? That would have been completely conceivable. And the way to do that is to go about with, hey, I'm here from God to help you out. I mean, why not? That sounds like a great plan to me.
So let's
and
do
it's
this.
Not bad. It's not a bad plan. It's very positive and nice, and it's loving. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. He was a pretty nice dude, from what I can see.
Let's go back to the root then. Like when you said that the reason why that the women were told that they were given that kind of status about the fact that they seen Jesus was just so that they could be killed. Well, the Bible also says that Peter and John himself saw and went to the tomb themselves, claimed the same thing, and all of them were killed. So it wasn't to just give credence to to tell women so that they would be killed first. This was written generations after the women were dead. Mm-hmm. This wasn't said so they could actually be killed. This was actually said so that it would show the truth, not what, like the Catholic Church has twisted who Mary Magdalene is, where the truth is she was one of the disciples who walked with Jesus and saw what you saw. And her claims are with what you saw are in the Bible. When you go to the other point about, like when we were talking about whether or not he claimed to just be let's say he was just revolutionary, or he was just a really nice guy. A really nice guy, the Jewish authorities wouldn't say, like in the book of John, that after he said, "My Father is working until now, and I am working," the Jewish authorities, and I understand because I know my Jews, my friends, this is why the Jews were seeking more to kill him, but not because he was breaking the Sabbath, but because he was calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. That's the reason why they got.
Yeah, but those were assumptions that were put on him. Now, the only time that he says that, you know, when you said I am the I am, is just that one brief mention in John and nowhere else in the text. And so even at the trial, that's who you say I am. That's who you say I am. He continuously used that defense. He didn't sit there and say, what, you know, so even at the very end, he was still saying, that is who you say I am, over and over and over and over and over again. So that's what he continued to do. And so they just went ahead and hung that on him. You know, so I mean, it's just, there's a lot of contradiction what's going on there. If he was actually going, if you were going to say, yes, I am the Son of God, why not do it in the middle of court in front of everybody and own it? And why not have it reported in several points throughout his life within the text, and not just that one time in John? That's why that's what I struggle with that particular point that you have.
Okay. Well, tell him to take a break. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab something. He'll jump on that for me. 1 second. Hi.
See, I don't have a tag team. Where's my second self? So I can be like, tag team out. I'm like, I'm tagged right now. All right.
It's mentioned over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. He refers to himself as the Son, and that God is his Father, over and over and over and over.
People say that all the time now.
Yeah, now. Yes, because we believe that God is our Father now.
No, if you're a Christian, I am the son of the God Most Holy, or I am the daughter of the God Most Holy, or the Goddess Most Holy, or the standard of evidence that established that, first of all, that you both seemingly had this personal thing that you went through, timed in a level of synchronicity that only twins can fucking do. It's fairly clear to most of us, I think, is a fair way of putting it, that you started out with a propensity toward Christianity, because it was the kind of the point of my first question was what in Mormonism exists that doesn't exist in Christianity, or vice versa. And I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I didn't really get an answer to that. What I got was reasons that didn't really relate to an answer.
What exists in Mormonism doesn't exist in Christianity was easily said. He said what doesn't exist in Christianity and Mormonism.
No.
Blew it off.
What he said, what the differences are. Hang on a second. Let me explain the kind of answer I thought I guess I was hoping for. Was I thought that there was nothing credible in Christianity that was less credible in Mormonism, or I thought there was nothing in Christianity. Sorry?
Credibility is what you're talking about.
Credibility. Okay.
Sure.
That's what I said. Credibility is what you're saying.
I said sure.
Yeah, you're saying that there's nothing any more credible in Christianity than in Mormonism. Show me what's more credible in Christianity than what's in Mormonism.
There you go.
But the difference is easy to say, but not the credibility of it. I can show the incredibility.
No, I disagree. I disagree. I think the only reason that it's easier to dismiss the claims of Mormonism is because of the proximity and the amount of history that we're aware of, versus something that happened 2,000 years ago amongst a tribe of nomads that had relatively hit or miss bookkeeping.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's fair summation.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree. You're undercutting the Hebrews, severely undercutting them, saying they're all just goat herders. They're not all.
I didn't say that.
All idiots.
I said nomads, and I feel like every Jew I know would admit that they come from a clan of nomads.
Yeah. Well,
how is that insulting? First of all,
no. What I'm saying is, it is insulting to say that, to belittle that like to say it like in a way that we can't trust their bookkeeping. We can't trust what they wrote down.
I'm saying their bookkeeping was sketchy because they were nomads. They didn't have libraries to deposit points of reference over the generations. That wasn't a thing that existed within their culture. That's relatively problematic to keeping historical documents in any kind of sense or shape that is meaningful to anyone. And it's so far beyond what you're trying to claim that I was suggesting. But in fact, I'm a little bit more than a little bit insulted, but.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you.
No, I know you didn't, and I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm just pointing out that was literally troubling to me, and that doesn't happen very often. I'm mostly, I got a really dark sense of humor, and I don't think much of myself, but man, that was something about that hit me wrong. I apologize.
Disagree. My disagreement with you is I don't know why it upsets you, me disagreeing with you. I disagree with how you're painting the Hebrews in my Jewish lineage. You're painting it completely wrong, and I am offended when you say something like that about my Hebrew ancestors. I'm sorry, but I find that with a lot of people, they try to say that my belief system and my historicity comes from a bunch of camel riders and goat herders that were out in the desert that didn't know how to keep books, keep libraries.
To what I actually said.
I know I'm not repeating what you said.
I know, but can we try to limit it to that? Because you're saying that I actually insulted you, and I'd rather that you told me about what I was that I actually said that was insulting, rather than something that other people have said that you found insulting.
Okay, what you actually said was when you said that they were a bunch of nomadic herders.
I didn't say that.
You said that.
Didn't even use the word.
Nomadic people that couldn't keep books, man. I don't want to argue over minutia. I don't want to argue over minutia. I really don't.
You were offended, and I was bothered by the fact that you thought that being a nomad was insulting, and so I guess we are where we are. I ain't mad, and I assume you're not either.
No, I'm not mad.
Good. We're good.
Hi guys, I'm back.
Welcome back. We noticed
I had to go smoke a cigarette.
There was a paucity of red in the picture when you were gone.
See, I'm not a perfect Christian, guys.
What's a perfect Christian?
Man,
I have no idea.
That's the correct answer.
I have no idea.
There isn't one.
Yeah, it's a troubling question. I can think of at least 3 people in my life that have a really good idea of what they think it is, but I'm not talking to any of them right now.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I can be a little bit mean and say the perfect Christian just blocked someone again. So
yeah, that would be one. That would be one
on
my list. The other 2 are actually IRL people.
Don't talk to her because you will get blocked as well.
Are we talking about our favorite person?
Yes, our favorite apologist.
Oh my God, the one who called me a cam girl. That one.
Yeah,
okay.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she would block both Jeff and Sean as well.
How is this not a marketing moment?
Oh no, I decided to take that and say I'm a cam girl for science, and I've got t-shirts and everything. I'm like, screw her. It was terrible. She basically said that since I have a locked account, which I don't use, it's locked because I have an online stalker who coincidentally fed her all this information, all this misinformation about me. Later, fed the same thing to I Am Atheist girl. They both decided to dox that account and say that I've got this sex account and I've harassed people. They bought it.
They called it an adult account.
Yes, they called it an adult.
Actually the account that I followed you on.
I know. Peter actually watched all of the stalking crap happen to me, and I had to permanently lock that account. I got a lawyer involved who's Miles Jackman. If you guys have questions, you can ask him. He's on Twitter. I have filed a police report in the UK because that's where the creep lives. And he recently was trying to harass me again through that Christian apologist and through I Am Atheist Girl by feeding them his narrative. He makes 30+ stock accounts, and Atheist Girl's like, I'm getting all these emails. I said, of course. He has a huge freaking list. And recently I've had to privately message people saying, this is the account he's using right now, and he's following you. I'm just giving you a heads up. So, yeah. So
that makes
and I can vouch for the fact that there were no adult pictures on that account.
No.
At least not for the last 4 years.
I mean, it's just I haven't had any adult pictures on there.
No.
No, I mean,
but that was what our favorite apologist was claiming.
Yeah. So you followed it 4 years ago.
That person is a repugnant wretch.
I know. And so I had to go on Monday to my job and tell them that my online stalker is back, and that if they get any weird phone calls or emails, please let me know so I can send it to my lawyer. That has been my life this week. So yes, people are horrible on the internet. Yeah. People are horrible on the internet, and if they hate you, they will believe the first horrible thing that they can find.
Yeah. And
they will absolutely enable and help a stalker. Fortunately, I Am Atheist Girl went through and deleted all that when people said, he has lots of accounts. Here's some of the examples of them, and he will fixate on you next. And she was like, okay, self-preservation. It's horrible. This has gone on for 3 years now. 3 years.
I Am Atheist Girl was exactly on my favored humans list.
3 years of this crap, and he still won't leave me alone. So there you go. So yes, the fact that I've been called a cam girl twice now. I have a bag. Check it out. Look at that. Cam girl for science. I'm selling this crap now. I have a mug right here. There you go. You can buy them right there.
Those are awesome.
I'm like, I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna run with it. So whatever.
I think that is probably the best project I've been privileged to be part of on Twitter.
Taking horrible behavior from
turning hate speech into donations for good charities. That is the best thing that I've ever been part of on here.
Yeah, so that goes to me though, because I'm the person who got that kind of vitriol.
Yeah, you're the direct target of that shit.
So, but the other stuff, like where she said horrible things about depression and anxiety, I put her horrible things on that she says on merchandise, and then I donate all the proceeds to charity, like the American Anxiety and Depression Association, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, the Trevor Project, all of World Wildlife Foundation. Got a whole stuff just on PETA because PETA blocked me. So all their stuff, the donations go to the World Wildlife Foundation.
And today she made an announcement, so now you can start donating to the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Is that right? Cool.
Just saying.
Oh, somebody in Mark Caesar. It sucks that you have to pay for a lawyer to protect yourself. Here's the thing. I'm very fortunate. Miles Jackman is a friend of mine who lives in London. I've only just known him as Miles. I completely forgot he's a world-renowned lawyer. He's worked with Parliament on censorship laws. And when he found out what was going on in 2016, he was like, do you want me to handle this? And I'm like, oh my God, Miles, you're a lawyer. I forgot you do that. And so, yeah, I've been in regular contact with him for years now, just updating the file. I have, I'm probably up to 20 pages now of aliases, emails, screenshots, narratives, I'm probably up to 20 pages once I add in what's gone on over the past couple of years. Well, not past 6 months. 20 pages. And it wasn't just him. It was his girlfriend too. He convinced his girlfriend that I was dangerous and that I was okay, keep in mind, I live in the US. They live in the UK. He had her convinced that I had a baying mob out for blood that was going to come to her house and burn it down. So she had the police come to her house in the UK and check to make certain it could withstand a mob attack. So that's on record.
Jesus.
And I'm like, I sound like a supervillain.
Wait, yeah, there's a test for that? You can just go look at somebody's place and say, yeah, you'll be good.
I mean, they asked her, where's this mob coming from? Twitter.
Twitter mobs are the worst.
I have Twitter mobs on, and they're in the UK, so there's no guns. So on Wednesdays we get the torches together, and on Mondays we get the pitchforks, and then on Fridays, we get the baseball bats, and then we all gather together for a meeting on Sunday afternoon at tea, and then talk about what we're gonna do.
When do the little blue birds get involved?
Oh my
God! A shitload of birds involved.
It was utterly mental. It was utterly mental. I'm like, boy, these people think I have a lot more time than what I actually do, and I sound like a supervillain.
Yeah, I've only got one schizophrenic in my real life, but there are so many online.
It's just, oh my God. So yeah, so I've had my fill of that. So they can all just be happy in their own little world, away from me. With their level of nuttery. That is just God. So yeah, 3 years now. It'll be 3 years this August. It started August of 2016. So, yeah.
My goodness.
Hey, Eddie, there's bad news about your birthday, buddy. You're now associated with that.
Where's Eddie? Here's someone who.
I think he's in my bedroom. Eddie's the invisible dog. Shirley's the not invisible dog, but she's over there and.
Oh my God.
So since we changed the name of the show, I got a new co-host. I have no clue why. Yeah.
She's kind of pretty.
Yeah. I have my dog.
She obviously doesn't think much of you, though. Look at the way she looks at you.
I'm nice.
She looks right through you.
Tell him I'm nice. Okay.
She looks right through you.
See, I'm nice. Right? I'm nice, right? See?
Yeah,
right.
You smell like food.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't washed in 3 weeks. That's probably it.
No wonder you smell like food. Yeah, dry rot.
Oh my gosh. You guys are terrible.
She can hear insects crawling underneath the surface.
Dry rot. The only thing that I have is rising damp.
Oh gosh. You guys know about those teeny tiny little mites that live on your skin? There's like teeny tiny little mites that live on your skin, and they have sacs in your pores.
Okay, after this, I have to go to sleep. So continue.
Yeah. It's like.
So I'm not worried.
Surely there's a porn joke in the pores thing, but
I don't know. My brain doesn't go there, man. your brain goes to interesting places.
It's fairly easy. You only had to add one letter.
That's not that creative. I thought it was going to be like way out there, kind of weird.
No, I said surely there's a joke. I don't have it. Just the fact that they're
that's why we're starting a comedy channel, right?
Because there's got to be
Artemis writes down his jokes and then pretends to be funnier than I am.
Artemis writes.
We found that out. We found that out tonight. He made a joke. Oh, let me write that down.
Yep, master.
Use that.
Hey guys, you know what the epitome of conceit is?
No.
You know what I mean when I say that? The epitome, the very height of being conceited.
Yes.
It's the very height of conceited is a flea on a leaf floating down the river with an erection on, screaming, "Raise the drawbridge!"
Oh my God!
You know what? Another epitome of conceit, guys. Another epitome of conceit is an ant crawling up an elephant's leg with rape on his mind.
Sean, I'm biting my tongue now because I really want to know.
Yeah,
did you get those jokes in church?
No way, dude. These are my guys. You got to remember.
Let me tell you. I once spoke to a Catholic priest, and I said, one thing I cannot wrap my head around, and that's confession. I mean, you sit there and people tell you the most intimate things, and I mean, how do you do that? And he said, well, they do tell me really, really intimate things. Sometimes I hear stories that make my head go up and down. And I said, you got your hat on during confession? He said, no, I have that in my lap.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Guys, you're gonna go, what, when you hear this from a Christian? Okay. Jesus was on the cross, right? And when he was on the cross.
Sorry.
No, that's not the joke.
Jesus was on the cross. And he said, John. So John ran up to the cross and he said, what is it, Jesus? And a Roman soldier cut off his legs and he fell down on the ground and started bleeding. The second time he was sitting there and he said off the cross, John. And he thought Jesus had something very important to say at his death. And so he crawled up with his arms and he said, what is it, Jesus? And he said, John. And a Roman soldier cut off both of his arms. And he thought this was the end. And so one more time, Jesus cried from the cross and said, John. And with his chin, he barely made it up to the cross. And he said, yes, Jesus, wanting to hear the last words of his master. And Jesus said, John, I can see your house from here, John.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, wait.
Like the life of Brian, man. That would be like in Monty Python.
Okay. Watch. You know how you were saying a minute ago, confession?
Oh no, we got Artie going.
Okay, so you were talking about confession. So one day at church, the preacher stands up and he says, I want everybody, confess your sins. And this lady stands up and she goes, I've had bad thoughts about my husband's best friend. And he goes, confess it, baby. He goes, confess your sins. And this other guy stands up and he goes, well, I had a drink last night and passed out on the ground. And he goes, confess it. And this like 22-year-old man finally stood up in the back and he goes, yeah, I fucked my granddaddy's mule. And the preacher said, damn if I'd have said that one, son.
Oh goodness. I have several, but I don't know.
I went to church once, and the preacher was preaching that about the tribulation, and it would be so bad that we all would need to eat grass. And it was this farmer that lived just next to the church, and he went out of the church completely worried. So he went right up into a field and started eating grass. And so the preacher came out and saw the farmer, and he said, John, what the hell are you doing? And he said, well, you preached that when the tribulation comes, we all need to eat grass. So I thought, instead of getting caught out, I'll try this first to see if it works. And the preacher said, so and how is it going? He said, well, the grass eating isn't the bad part, but with a tail that long, keeping the flies away is hell.
Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. So there's this woman in church. And so there's this woman, she's standing in front of this dude in church, and he notices that her dress is tucked up in her butt. And so he's like, so he pulls it out and she turns around and smacks him really hard. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. And so like the next day the next Sunday they were there. And then at the end of the service, the pastor came up to him. The guy had a black eye, and he's like, what happened? He's like, well, you know that lady who sits in front of me, and when we stand up and we sing and stuff, he goes, yeah. It's like, well, her dress wasn't tucked in her butt, so I tucked it back in for her. It's so really, she wanted it in. I pulled it out, so I tucked it back. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of Indian culture around me, and so I had friends that were Indian, and they told me some of the funny jokes I've ever heard in my life. And one of them was that there was now a friend of mine that was Indian told me this joke. He said that there was this Indian chief that was they were at a big Indian convention, and there was a reporter, a white reporter that was there and taking pictures and interviewing everybody. And she saw this Indian with this peacock feather in his hair. And she walked up to the Indian and she said, sir, how did you get that big peacock feather in your hair? And the Indian said, me fuck 'em one peacock. So she went, oh dear. So she saw another one. She saw it had 2 feathers in his hair. She goes, how did you get those 2 feathers in your hair? Those big peacock feathers. And the Indian looked at her and he goes, me fuck 'em 2 peacock. She went, oh dear. She saw this Indian chief with a whole head dressed of feathers all the way down. And she said, Chief, sir, how did you get those feathers all the way down to that flows out from behind you? And he goes, me fuck 'em many peacock. She said, oh dear. He goes, no, dear, ask too high, run too fucking fast.
Wow. Okay.
See, you guys think you're dirty. You're not dirty. You think you're bad. You're not bad. Seriously, we tell you dirty jokes, and you guys are like, oh, wow, that was bad. Oh,
it
good.
Is, no,
Can't
it
believe
is,
Christian told me
it
dirty
is,
joke. Told me joke.
It is just, I'm from Holland, and I came into all of this through Kent Hovind. Having Christians telling dirty jokes on my channel is the epitome of success.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you guys, you got to remember, we're all human. We're all just human beings. We're flawed human beings. We're not perfect. And the Bible says that he who says he has no sin is a liar, and the truth is not in him. I don't sit here and I'm not trying to act holy. I do want to tell somebody that's listening about the love of God. People can accept it, not accept it. It doesn't. To me, I wish somebody could accept it. That's fine. But it's not going to make me be like we talked about. Somebody said earlier an identity change. Well, no, what really happened wasn't necessarily my identity changed. Just the inside of me, something changed in my heart, my mind, my thinking. But I'm still the same Jeff that I was before I became a Christian.
Well,
having said that.
So Jeff, I said that, and I said that about Sean because I just can't picture Sean the way he depicted himself. Not tonight, not last week.
Oh yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah.
So
yeah. It was just the part where Sean didn't like. He it's not that he was just skeptical. He if you were a Christian or if you were a Muslim or whatever your belief was, he mowed you down. He knew scripture. So he would mow you down and make you look stupid. He didn't like the idea that somebody would put their faith in God. He didn't like that. Neither did I. There were years that I feel bad about now. I feel terrible now that I look back and I took some people that were Christians and made them atheists. I can argue for atheism better than I can argue for Christianity. Because it's easier to question than it is to accept. It's much easier to just say, you know what, that's bull. That's bull, that's bull. Oh, show me the truth about that. And what I find now is that no matter how much evidence you show someone, no matter, to them, it's still go, that's not evidence. That's not truth. You show them about the Bible, the historicity of the Bible, they go, nope, that's not good enough for me. And I understand everybody has a what they will accept as good enough for them. There was a time when nothing was good enough for me. Nothing. Like I spoke about just a minute ago or earlier, I had an experience when I was in church. I can understand Artemis probably, he's angry about God and about what he was taught, and I understand that. What happened to me when I was in church, something terrible happened to me. I'm just saying, man, something terrible happened to me, and it made me mad. I finally got to a point where I wasn't mad at God. I was mad at, I said, there's no God, because how could there be a God and then there'd be a church and then people do this kind of stuff to people? It's on a level that I'm not going to say on this channel because it's not right. People can guess all they want to, and their worst nightmares would probably be the closest thing that they can have. It's still today, I can look back at that same thing that happened to me where I was betrayed. What are you flipping off?
That was for Peter. It's for Peter. Sorry. I was trying to say Peter, and that sorry. But, the last time I got busted for that, I was 8th grade.
Artemis, you have to go sit on the naughty step. Sit on the naughty step.
No, I just thought he was flipping me off. All I thought was him.
No, here's Artemis's punishment. You have to go sit on the naughty step, and you have to write, I will not give the finger. I will not give the finger.
It was 9th grade, and it was my biology teacher who loved me. In fact, I was so good in his class that it got to a point after the second year that I had, or starting a second semester of that year, I was grading the tests that the other students were passing in to me to grade, and then I'd hand them to him to make sure I was grading it right.
If I get a teaching job again, I'm just going to send you all the grading. I'm like, here you go, Artemis.
I was still this annoying, obnoxious asshole. This obnoxious prick was the guy that was the first one done with his biology test, and he had all the answers right. And it just pissed everybody off.
I'm gonna write you a new test and make you take it now.
He did that. He did that for the final. He gave me one that was dirty, and then told me I didn't.
I bet you don't remember everything.
Fuck no, I don't remember everything. I don't remember how the fuck I got an intact brain out of a fish.
Do you remember your cellular dogma? You remember all that?
No, I'm not even sure I studied that.
Transcription, translation, replication, all of DNA, the
roughly halfway between you and
RNA.
I'm roughly halfway between you and Peter.
Well, Jeff, at least you can be sure of one thing. If someone's going to be insulted on purpose, it's going to be me, and Artie is going to do the insulting.
It's fairly true.
Just get used to that. Just look on Twitter every once in a while. You'll see it happening.
Okay. I want to put up a challenge, Peter, for you and Artie. I want to give you guys biology tests, and then that's and it'll be on the honor code that you don't look it up, and you have to sign a statement saying I did not cheat, and then I'm going to compare the two, and I'll give you guys an award. How about that? What do you think?
I'm up for it.
And then you go on live stream, and I'll go, okay, here are the results.
I feel like that's okay so long as I'm allowed to give you an art appreciation test.
Sure. I actually know quite a bit about art.
Shit. I was trying to think of something that I studied that
I love Van Gogh, all of the Impressionism, Renoir.
I could give you a test on sociology that I would do better on, but
the Chicago Institute of Art had an entire, a couple years ago, they had all 3 bedrooms of Van Gogh up there.
How are you with plants?
Artie, don't go to performance art because Mel has a second channel.
Would you know which side of the house to plant a magnolia on if you were planting it in
My mother is actually a master gardener, and she's
we talked about the night that I blacked out.
My mother's a master gardener, and she's told me a lot about plants that need full sun, part shade, where to plant everything, heavy water, not where. Yeah, so I got that.
Don't put heavy water on any of your plants.
Oh, no. I mean, something like a weeping willow would not do well in my backyard because it faces west and it's dry and arid. It's a rare day.
They're great next to a creek.
Oh, Artemis, did you see that it just got worse? We got Not Your Witness in the side chat.
No. Who? I thought he was dead.
No, just upside down.
Oh.
I haven't talked to Nacha in forever. I can't remember the last time I was on a stream with him.
Nacha swings from his ankles.
We can cure that.
Not just funny. I didn't sign up for the latest roasting with the Geek Room, even though I said I would this year. I don't have it in me. I'm too tired. I'm too tired to go and think of all the insults of different people. Probably could, you know.
Nacha, go check your DMs.
Oh my gosh. I'm waiting to hear back from Bullionator because I'm supposed to chat with him to see if he wants to run my show.
Sorry.
Oh no, don't
might want to check your DMs as well, Mel.
I am checking. I don't have anything new.
The group we're in.
Yeah, I said let me know when you want to talk.
Yeah.
And I haven't. I know. It's not there, man. I'm like refreshing.
Oh, you said that. I thought
said that.
I thought Bull said that. My bad.
Peter, you need to learn how to read group chats. Man,
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. First the rendering of your stuff, and then there was this guy. I don't know. One of the twins was bugging me for a link. For a show that wasn't going to happen for another day. And so first they came on Twitter DMing me for a link, both of them, and then they came on Facebook. So eventually I woke up.
Guys are just coming all over the place.
My goodness.
But this was the first time that I wasn't wrong. So actually fun.
You're right.
Other people can have it wrong as well. I did that with Arn Ra.
I still need to get Arn Ra on my channel. His son reached out to me to do a show about spirited science. He missed the Michio Kaku because that's one of his favorite physicists. So I said, well, if you want to do, I thought it might be cool to have like a Father's Day with him and his dad, and they wanted to do Carl Sagan. So we're just trying to work out. We're gonna do a spirited science.
I completely forgot, but maybe in hindsight, the Father's Day wasn't a great day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day here in this land. You know, that's all right. But I'd need to reach out to RN at some point and see if he wants to come on that show because his son wants to do it. And I'm like, well, it'd be really cool. You know, they could have I think it'd be cool to do like a father-son one and talk about, Carl Sagan because Nick Sagan's on Twitter and he still carries the torch a bit for his dad, which is really nice. It's kind of sweet. He's tweeted to me a few times.
You are such a sweet person.
You
are such a sweet person. You are such a sweet person.
I try to be.
They're trying to get you to repeat it again and again and again.
You know, it's funny. My brother from another mother, Darnak71 on Twitter. I've known him. God, I've known him probably 20 years or longer. He runs my Facebook page, and I was talking to him. I'm like, so there's that person who made that hate video about me. He's like, well, is it that one dude, Tommy? I'm like, no, it's the other dude's like, God, I just don't, which one are you talking about? There's so many people who hate you. I can't keep up with that.
How you know you made it? You're somebody when people are making hate videos about you.
Oh, God.
More than one somebody that's doing it.
Okay, so I have to, I don't know if you know about G-Man. He's freaking mental. But he is so mad. He hates me. And he's so mad that I won't come on his channel and debate him for like cancer research or evolution. So there's another guy named Doc Savage, and I'm starting a show with him called Audacity. That's a spinoff of how G-Man pronounces audacity. He says, you've got the audacity to say this to me. He's angry all the time. So we're going to be smarter. We won't say audacity. We'll say audacity because we have the audacity and we're using our mouths to do it. So now have a show called Audacity where we're just going to take horrible, bad ideas and that are represented as science and just rip it apart comedically. So the first episode is going to be on Deepak Chopra. So that's going to be great. So his paper.
I'm gonna start a college called Oral Destiny.
Well, just tell them the ones that are being rude or mean like that. Just tell them to take their mandible and their maxilla and mildly masticate around your gluteus maximus.
Yeah.
I've got a dad ass. There's not mastimus.
Yeah. I got some in the truck myself, so you know.
Well, and I can state for a fact that the soundtrack of the intro only is worth watching the show.
Yeah, it's good. Oh God, yeah. So it's funny because G-Man
skip the outro. But
the G-Man made this video. Now, Doc works in immunology, so he helped generate the HPV vaccine and that sort of thing. And he's also working in cancer treatments. I've done cancer research, and I have a publication about a test that I helped engineer when I was in grad school to detect exosomes, which are things that cells release into the blood system. And to be able to detect those, that's a much more sensitive test than the current gold standard. So I helped engineer tests like that. So we've got cancer research between the two of us. So G-Man's like, I want Doc and Mel to come on my channel and debate me about cancer. I'm like, we're not going to do that because that's like punching a toddler in the face without gloves. We have ethics.
You ever been kicked in the face with a steel boot?
It's like, and over again. And so Doc,
no, of course, yeah, nobody has.
Doc regularly just rips them apart on this channel. So it's just, I'm like, I don't have anything to do with them. But
there goes the live stream. Mel, you got your wish. Nacha.
Hello. How you doing?
You're properly upside down because you're an Aussie.
Hell yeah, I am. I'm also tired as fuck. Just woke up. I woke up, saw you guys online. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to jump and say hello.
And you need to work on your timing, Nacha, because we already done the dirty jokes.
Oh, fuck off.
The first time we had Christians on telling dirty jokes.
You missed Hitler by like 2.5 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed Hitler. Too. No.
Story of your life. I know.
Springtime. What was it? Springtime with Hitler in Germany.
Springtime with Hitler in Germany.
For Hitler in Germany. Fucking love that movie.
They're like, we're gonna make the worst musical possible, and everybody's like, this is fantastic. It's like
it reminds me of
it's like the first Daphne Ramel video I ever watched.
Oh my God.
I have no idea who that is.
I don't know. It's like the time I called Kent Hovind on that live stream. I'm like, wow, this is so weird.
That was so funny.
Freaking things, man. I wasn't mean or nothing. I legitimately wanted to know his perspective on things. So I just sat there and asked him questions like, gosh, this is so bizarre.
Yeah, it's just fascinating.
That was a terribly exciting show, that one.
Yeah.
I thought about calling him back again when I was live. He said I could call him back. He's like, yeah, call me back anytime. I'm like, fantastic.
Diarrhea of the cranium. Just watch this.
It's like, oh my gosh. He said essentially like the mass extinction that's called the Great Dying, where all of the ocean creatures died because they suspect it was a horrible toxic bacteria that wipes them out. He said that was from Noah's flood, where all of the water came from deep down within the center.
And yet he shits on Ken Ham.
And so from all the hot water, there's hot water, guys, that's like really close to the core of the earth. And so when the flood happened, all of that hot water came up into the ocean. And that's what killed literally every living ocean creature on the planet at that particular mass extinction, the Great Dying.
Well, that explains why there was no food shortage, because they had the whole ocean of chowder.
He really believes that. I'm like, man.
Well,
but okay. Can you blame Kent Hovind shitting on Ken Ham?
I'm dying. My phone is dying, guys. My never mind.
Oh.
No, but can you blame him? The owner of the Ark is suing the insurance company over rain damage.
Companies,
yeah.
Over rain damage. That's
over rain damage.
What's really funny is that they're suing their own private indemnification company.
Yeah, and then he gets mad.
Even the group that they invested in to cover shit that doesn't get covered isn't going to give them any money.
Yeah, it's just wow.
That's fucking magic.
Okay, Bull needs to talk about the show tomorrow, so I'm gonna hop off of here.
Okay. Yeah,
right.
I'm thinking of trying to close this down because I've got to make a couple of screens for Bull for Sunday, so he can do that test run.
Okay, yeah, we got to do the test run. We're not doing the show on Sunday. Doc's traveling for work, so we're gonna do that the following Sunday. But that gives us more time to get stuff together, so it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, and I'm going to tease the hell out of Jeff and Sean because for some reason we're looking at a wooden cross.
I think it's their ceiling. We're looking at.
Right now. We're all dancing on their ceiling.
Yeah, or has the same view as their girlfriends. You know, that's the view from their girlfriends. You know what I mean? When you're laying down. So you guys are all enjoying the view of the girlfriends.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Usually the way wait a minute.
And now they're gone.
At the ceiling.
Okay. Well, you guys have a fun night. Try not to, don't get in the news or anything.
Oh. That's why I want to end the stream because now we have a group of people that I'm not sure if that's going to be on our channel. So
Mel, I want you to know that the most exciting thing going on in my life right now is that for the first time since October of last year, I have a remote control that operates my garage door, which now functions.
I don't have a functioning garage door
level of ecstasy that I am capable of reaching right now.
I'm really jealous because mine currently doesn't work.
Oh.
So I have to manually lift it up and close it down.
Yeah. Artie's excited. Artie's excited. It's the first time he's got something that's supposed to go up and down and actually works.
Yes.
With the touch of a button. All you got to do is nothing else.
He has a button to give him lift.
Sometimes you gotta, but never a thumb.
Okay.
Artie needs buttons to get good lift.
I'm going to end the show right here. I want to thank all of you for coming and for a good conversation. I usually don't do after shows, but this one was actually fun.
That was fun. Oh my gosh.
It was all thanks to me, really.
You really did fucking save it, Nacha. I don't feel like everybody still watching it realize that by now.
Yeah, completely.
Okay. So for the people who are still hanging around in the side chat, thanks for coming, and catch you all day after tomorrow with
Love you,
Liberty. Bye.
Bye.